At the moment, we do know several names have popped up these elections. In Rivers, for instance, you remember Bonema, Akokutoro, Okrika. People remember those names now as a result of these elections. But let's go to our correspondent, Emmanuel Ire. He's in Port Harcourt. Emmanuel, what's the latest?
Well, Chamberlain, I think I'd like to start from what I consider to be an interesting talking point. I heard one of your guests in the studio talking about the fact that in states like Rivers, Akwa Ibom, where you have oil, you also have some form of violence or some form of struggle. Well, the grass looks greener from the other side, like they say, but that's a talk for another day. We cannot stop talking about the issues of security in the elections in Rivers State as we bring you these live feeds from Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital. I want to show you a bit. If you look a bit to my right, you will notice that there is some form of barricade security check by the security agencies. You could take a closer look and see the army also positioning to ensure that the road leading up to the INEC office is barricaded and under the watchful eyes of the security agencies. Well, the same thing to my left. Something similar to what you have to my right. You could see a barricade of the security put there by the security agencies. One lane of the road leading to the INEC office is also condoned off by the security agencies. Now, that gives you a bit of sense of what the situation is when it comes to security in the elections. Now, you've talked about Abonema, Okrika, Bonny. I hope you remember to add Bonny as well, because we are keeping our eyes on these places where elections did not hold due to violence. We have spoken to some of the security agencies. They've given the impression that they are on ground to ensure that the elections is free and fair. But like they say, actions speak louder than words. Now, what is trending in the state today is what some persons have called the indiscriminate arrests being carried out by some security agencies. We have said it before and we'll say it again, that we are waiting for the security agencies to make clear statements as regards these allegations and these reports of arrests of party members, especially in the dead of the night, and we are waiting. And of course, we have our hands on this matter, and we'll be bringing you the details, Chamberlain.
All right, then, Emmanuel, we appreciate that. We'll be hoping that when those security agents, we'll speak in good time as well, because people need to hear. It's just, who knows, hours to the big day now.
Those are the places, the critical areas. He said you should add Bonny. Bonny. You should add Bonny to it, to Abonema or Krika, and the other last place, yes. So these are very interesting places that I feel that the security architecture leading up to the elections should be focused on. We've had some unconfirmed reports of upheavals that have happened and violence in some of those areas, as well as he waiting, Emmanuel Rie, to get those information as quickly as possible. But as you said, time is of the essence, and it will just be good for the security to, you know, encourage the people more by coming out with a report on this. These areas as they stand.
We knew this would happen. 20 years and 5 elections. This is the 5th in 20 years. We knew this would happen every 4 years, that we are not able to prepare adequately or to even give ourselves enough political education to avoid this kind of concern really is something that gives anyone in the world, especially Nigerians abroad, petrification on their minds. If I have to come back home, how sure am I that I'm going to be safe? So if elections have to go this way all the time, it gives a lot of concern. Both parties have kept saying election is not war, but this is where we have.
All right, we've got several bureaucracies to take a look at all of this, but still talking about the role. Yes, we've seen military barricading the office to ensure that all goes well. But Ms. Johnson, you were speaking about how they need to conduct themselves, where they need to deploy. But in terms of when they actually do get to the field, we know we've been told time and again that the police is the lead agency. Do you see that operationalizing itself? You see that being the case when they get to the field?
Yeah, Chamberlain, I will respond to this by using my polling unit as an example. Like I said earlier, I voted, and I saw the security arrangement at my polling unit. I saw only 2 trucks of soldiers who were stationed outside the perimeter of the primary school where the polling units were located. They were just there momentarily. After a while, I came out to check on them again, and I discovered that they had left. But obviously, that does not seem to be the case in all the states, because I voted here in Abuja. So there has been complaints of, the partisan role that the military has played. There has even been accusations of voter intimidation and stuff like that. So I have an advice for Chief of Army Staff. I listened to his press briefing yesterday where he said that the police invited them. And like I said earlier, to that extent, police had not come to say, look, we didn't invite them. But I will advise the Chief of Army Staff not to dismiss all the claims by the people that there were partisanship and some level of, indiscipline by his men, because he was not there on the ground. So he does not know everything that they did while they were on ground. So the best thing to do is not to dismiss all the claims, because all the claims are not coming from members of the opposition party. I've seen some civil society organizations making the same claims, that the military intimidated voters, that the military was partisanship. So what he ought to do is to commission a panel of inquiry into all these various allegations with a view to finding out exactly what happened. And if in fact he found out that some of his men behave in a manner that does not reflect the code of conduct of the army, those people should be sanctioned to the extent allowed within the military code of conduct. So, yes, I do support the deployment of soldiers, during our elections, because the police we have does not have the capacity to police all of us. Even under normal circumstances, we do have a lot of challenges that the police have not been able to contend. That is why we continue to use our military in internal security. And now that you have hyped-up activity as a result of this election, the police cannot provide security for all of us at this critical moment. That is why the deployment of soldiers is very, very inevitable. I don't argue that one. I don't question that one. The area I have problem is the role they play. If they go there and they are impartial, they are neutral, and they are unbiased, and they are professional, and they do their job, nobody will complain. Well, the role of the military is not regime survival. The role of the military is state survival. That is why when you see Donald Trump, the U.S. president, anytime you see him, you will never see any soldier following the United States president. None. The only military personnel you probably will have with the president is the pilot of Air Force One, who is an Air Force colonel. That is the only military personnel that you're going to see. That is the job of the Secret Service and the CIA and the FBI, to protect the president, because we take oath to defend America, not to defend the president. And I think that similar thing should happen right here in Nigeria.
All right, General Wahab, you've been Director of Army Operations. Could you give us an idea in terms of what to expect, the mechanisms that the Army has got to checkmate anyone who violates the rules, the terms of operation when it has to do with elections? Because Ms. Johnson just spoke about the Chief of Army Staff not being there in the field, so as to take a look at or to take into consideration the reports that may emanate from the field.
Thank you. Well, I'm not while I'm not holding brief for the Army, I want to tell you that there are procedures and processes that are in place. One is, whatever the complaint, yes, it is possible for somebody to come and say, no, this is not happening. But definitely, the legal services, the Department of Operations, the Department of Civil Military Affairs, all will collate whatever is happening. And then the intelligence corps or the military police corps will be mandated to investigate. And when they finish, unfortunately, there is an issue. And the issue is that of telling the whole world, this is what we've done, and this is the end result of what the investigation is all about. The Army or the armed forces of Nigeria don't normally do that. And I will employ either the CDS or the Chief of Army Staff to start looking at that issue. Whoever is found guilty of electoral offenses after the investigation and trial should be made public so that everybody is aware that it is not that people are being covered. I'm aware there are instances where a whole unit have been moved from a particular place and relocated because there have been a series of complaints, either before or during an election. But the Army will never tell anybody, or defense headquarters will not tell you, this is the reason why we are moving this. I think we need to be a little bit open. And secondly, there is the necessity to get the service provider to give the armed forces easy numbers. 3 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits, that people can easily call, not 5 lines or 11 numbers that the average person gets tired about. 222, 333, whatever it is, so that people can call. You see something happening, you call the information center or the monitoring center, and they are aware that something like this is happening. And the commander on ground is held responsible, and that's what normally happens. If something happens in your area, you are held responsible for whatever the shortcomings or weaknesses of your command. And finally, I will employ the average Nigerian to take up their civic responsibility. You see something happening, don't wait and generalize. There have been a series of issues where somebody will say, oh, this is what is happening generally. Let us not generalize. Report what is happening, tell it, and let us have the particular location where that incident is happening. I think when we have some of these things happening, and then the Army or the armed forces being a little bit open about whatever they do, I think more trust will come into the system, and people will believe that, look, you don't go scot-free whatever is happening in the system. But right now, even when individuals are punished, or even a whole unit is moved, nobody is aware. People are not informed that this is the reason why these guys are moved. But I think there should be a little bit openness, and the civil military affairs of defense headquarters and army headquarters should be more responsive to this.
You know, General Wahab, it's instructive that these pictures we saw from River State are coming in at that point. And when Bishop Johnson did mention that the role is more critical to him, but can we really separate the role of the Army with its actions that we see in the field?
Yes, they say pictures speak louder, or it's better to view a picture, and it gives you a clearer indication of what is happening. But I want you to realize one thing. Let us not look at a picture and forgo what is happening in the past and what will happen in the future. Something will have influenced whatever the deployment. It is not possible for only military guys to be in that location. Definitely the police are there, and whoever is the commissioner of police in that area is responsible, or the head of the police is responsible. And a lot of decisions, a lot of meetings will normally have taken place before that decision is taken. Let us cut off this area. And you don't want a situation where the INEC office in Rivers is bombed or burnt, and then you have a situation where they will tell you they can't conduct the election tomorrow. The average Nigerian will be much more worried about that. And I believe it is time for either the commissioner of police or whoever is responsible to come out and say, this is the reason why they are doing this. Because I'm aware that the code of conduct will tell the average military personnel, don't go near this, don't do this, don't do that. And this is the distance you keep to a particular location. If that is not being done, or if that is being infringed upon, then there's a need for defense headquarters to come out and say, this is the reason why this action is being taken place. Otherwise, when the average Nigerians see the picture, they believe something unholy is actually happening. And I want to take you back to 2013. In 2013, there was a massive crisis in the same rivers. And it led to Army headquarters telling virtually all commands to remove all their personnel that are safeguarding government houses, because a lot of issues were coming out from rivers. And I'm sure this might be part of what is happening. Back in 2013, and today we are facing the same problem. And I agree with those who said we need to review and strategize our security architecture. Something is fundamentally wrong. And it is not possible for the armed forces to come in without the police or the government saying, yes, go and assist these guys. And even INEC, at the national headquarters, series of meetings will have taken place. I was a member in 2011, and a lot of decisions will have been taken. And I'm sure either INEC or the Commissioner of Police in Rivers should come out and say, this is the reason why this is happening. Without that, we'll have a perceived or a wrong situation, and a lot of people will get worried about what is happening in Rivers.
All right, then. So we'll go to break and come back and continue comparing notes between ideal, the reality, and people's perception. Stay with us.